up, guys? Doing some steering column stuff on the truck today. Gonna show you how I mount the Ford wheel to the GM style column, and then I'm gonna show you a trick way to install kick panel speakers in one of these unibody F100s. All right, that being said, let's get on it. Some of you are probably familiar with the column that I'm using. It's that cheaper column, and I've mentioned before I wasn't too crazy about using a cheaper column. Might as well just spend the money and go for a nice column. The Flaming River columns being are like $700 and stuff. I really wanted to take another look at this and see how it's built. Looking at it, it's built fairly well, really, to be honest. And it's not, I mean, it feels good. The tolerances feel good. I'm not recommending it simply because of the price point. And if you end up getting hurt, you didn't hear it from me that it was a good thing. I'm saying that it's working for me, and I'm gonna use it mostly because I want to modify it. I'd much rather modify this than an $800 one and screw it up. So I'm gonna modify this one, and then if it turns out well, I'll probably end up buying a Flaming River one and then modifying that. So what I want to do is I want to use the original Ford F100 steering wheel. Here is the original wheel. Now, I love these old OEM style steering wheels. I've never been crazy about aftermarket steering wheels. But the whole part of the experience of these 50s and 60s cars to me is these thin, wide, big steering wheels. There's something about the feel of it. I love it. When you're driving it, you know, this is an old car. But yeah, with power steering now and stuff, you don't need them this big anymore, but it's just part of the thing for me. I really want to use the stock original steering wheel. Plus, I think it looks good. It fits with the interior, keeping the interior mostly stock as is. It just works. So, problem with that being is that these aftermarket columns come with a GM style spline here. And, you know, with this being Ford wheel, it doesn't fit. So, what I'm doing is I got a hold of an original Ford steering shaft and got the spline off of it. And I'm going to be cutting this spline off and putting this spline on. And I'll be sleeving it like so. I'll have the sleeve, and then we're just gonna weld it. I'll show you. Very safely weld this thing and have it sleeved. And even when it is sleeved, it will still clear the cam canceller thingy to make these turn signals shut off. So I'm gonna get going on that. All right, so I chopped off the GM shaft, and then I welded on the Ford spline here and got really good penetration. And I'm gonna go ahead and clean all this up and then sleeve it with the sleeve. And then that way I can weld all around the sleeve and then right down the center just to lock this thing in. Super safe. Don't want it falling off. I'll just say right here now, don't do this, because if you do this and you don't get good penetration and the welding isn't up to snuff, I don't want to be the one responsible for your project going in the ditch. So I'm just doing this at my own risk. I've talked to a few guys that have done this before, and it does work, but I'm not the one telling you to go do this, just for legal reasons. So I got the sleeve on there, and I left a space here to fill that with weld. I drilled a hole there to fill that with weld. Then I made kind of a little offshoot hole there to fill that with weld, and then all the way around the back, and all the way around the back, and all the way around the front. That ain't breaking. I'd call that a success. Sleeved extra strong. It's not all wobbly. Looks good. I'll put the cover back on so you can see what that looks like. So you can see that the aftermarket, this little collar here, is a little wider than the wheel, but when you're looking dead on, you're not really even gonna notice it. I mean, it is what it is. I think it looks better than the aftermarket steering wheels. It's just a personal preference. I like the original wheel. We're good to go here. The reason I am getting this done now is because I'm going to be painting this column. The chrome, it's all right. I'm not really a chrome guy anyway, but the way that it reflects when the sunlight hits the steering column, the chrome reflects right back up onto the windshield of the truck and then right in my eyes the whole time. So painting it was my whole goal. I wanted to paint it in the beginning. They just didn't offer this one in bare steel. They do now, but they didn't at the time. So getting this chrome, marring it up pretty good and getting ready to put some primer on the column. So I'm going to call that done. Column is done. I can now use a Ford wheel on an aftermarket GM style column. The high build primer has been applied, and I gotta be honest, I'm stoked on how this turned out. It looks really good, and here's the dash all finished up. I left you last time with it still kind of roughed out, but it looks really good. And how that came out. Got all the doors, the tailgate over here. Got the hood taken care of. It's looking really straight. All that prep work really paid off. I don't care about the dents here in the wheel wells. It doesn't bother me. It's going to be a shop truck. There's a few dents along the inside of the bed. I still want to use this as a truck once it's done, and we'll have a raised bed, and this will be a little compartment underneath. So I still want to use it as a truck. I'm not going to make this look perfect back here. Otherwise, I won't use it as a truck anymore. So this is looking really, really good. And it's pretty much time to start block sanding it and get some color on it. On to the next project. Originally, I had these bullet style speakers that came with the system that I have that's mounted under, the subwoofer mounted under the bench seat. And these are the satellite speakers that go under the dash. Compared them to a regular 6.5 Kenwood. This is probably about medium of the line type of the 6.5s. And what do you know, these sound a whole lot better than these. So we're getting rid of these. They're both 4 ohms, so it'll work with the system and should work great. They sell these pods, these 6.5-inch speaker pods. They are atrociously huge. They have this odd looking mounting lip thing. And even better, they don't fit in the cab of the truck at all. So these are going to need to be modified. Some may ask why I'm not installing them in the door. I don't want to worry about installing speakers in the door and running the wiring through. Plus, it's always been my experience that kick panel speakers, especially 6.5, sound better from the kick panel than they do from the door blowing sound directly into the bench seat. So we're going with this. Kick panel speakers, but we're going to modify this to look a whole lot better than this kind of massive, kind of odd looking thing. The plan of attack on these will be to cut this more along the lines of here, because if you measure, and I did, I mean, I don't need near that much room. Not even close. Cut this all the way around, cut this lip off, then I'll show you how I plan to mount this after doing so. Now obviously this is not a perfect cut. It's close, it's really close, but there's going to be a few little gaps. So it's not going to necessarily be totally flat to seal up to the mounting surface. And I'll show you how I plan to take care of that. I am simply using some of my sticky back body tape, sanding paper, making a flat surface, or using a flat surface to stick it to be able to sand the back of the pod. There we go. There it is. So what we can see here is, compared to the stock one, much less intrusive on the interior, and the speaker still sits in there fine. That's much better than that. Very intrusive. This will look a lot better. So now the question remains, how we're going to mount this, the inside of the rocker. Well, as you can see, the speaker grill pretty much covers the entirety of the pod. So So what I'm gonna do is take a lighter on the back side, heat up the plastic, much like I did here. I needed a flat spot to be able to go up against the floorboard, and then create a divot, melting the plastic to create a divot to accept the heads of one of these fasteners that this head will fall into, and then the speaker can mount over, and then the grill will cover all up. And we'll take one of these nuts. The nut will very carefully get welded to the side of the kick panel, thus giving us a mounting and threaded hole to be able to mount the pods to. And then just make sure we'll put some Loctite glue in there so they'll never come rattling out. That's how they'll be mounted. They'll also get some of this rubberized gasket type seal stuff once this thing is painted around it. That way it won't be squeaking if it does ever rattle, and create a nice seal. Got my holes drilled for the passenger side here, and for those of you that are curious as to why I don't just cut into here and install the speakers that way, is because one reason I want them to sit out, you know, you think about the direction that the sound travels, kind of out and up, and also there's this big A-pillar support back here, and it runs right through here all the way down, and can't really put a speaker in there. Another reason is the door hinge goes down in here, and it would rip apart anything you had sitting behind it. So yeah, you really, for this particular situation, stuck with these pods if you want them in the kick panel. All right, so let's get moving on with this. And there we have it. 'Tis installed. And I left a little channel, you can see a little bit of daylight down in there for the speaker wire to go out and run underneath the carpet, test fit the speaker. Get in there. And it fits, it works. Nothing interferes, it's not touching, the magnet is not touching the back side there. I left a good, probably about ½ inch clearance on the lowest side. And I got the other one installed on the other side. It looks very obvious right now because they're black, but once they get painted the body color, it won't be so bad. You can see it's really not intrusive, not hardly at all. Maybe 1.5 inches, looks like maybe. So I'll have plenty of foot for where I rest my foot. Brake pedal's all the way over here. There's still plenty of room. And then up there's where the dimmer is. Looks good, I'm happy with it. It's gonna sound much better than those little bullet speakers. I did an A/B to them, and I tried to record it, but you can't hear the audio difference with what I'm recording here. But trust me, to hearing it in real life, these sound a lot better. Some may wonder or ask why I didn't go for speakers up here. I've seen that done, and to me, I've driven vehicles and rode in vehicles where they're up there. It just seems like it's blasting in your ear. And with them down in the kick panel, it's kind of down in this little enclosure area, once there's a seat here, it just sounds better to me. It sounds more full and everything. Maybe it's just me, but that's the way it sounds to me. Also, I'm going to get the original headliner for this. They make a reproduction, really cool original headliner for this, and I didn't want to mess that up or mess with anything with that because I really like the way it looks. The pattern on it is really cool. All right, that's probably gonna do it for this one, guys. Appreciate you tuning in as always. Fun stuff in the next episode, picking some colors and carpet over here. Spoiler alert, I like that one right there. But anyways, we'll see if we go with that one. That'll be in the next episode. Guys, I appreciate it as always. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.